tell me a little bit about what you've been working on recently.
Well, recently I'm based in Montreal, so I've been working mainly on series that are in Montreal.
Okay.
So I've worked a lot with this artist who's a hypnotist, actually. And
That sounds fun.
He's a best-selling artist in Europe. He kills the top, yeah, the top singers, like hands down. So I worked a lot actually on his show. I have a soundtrack that is on his show right now.
Okay.
Because of that, I actually landed the series, which is kind of the hip gags, they call it. Are all little short stories of people that he puts under hypnosis.
How
and
funny.
It is. So
yeah.
It's like a ton of scenarios. I had 120 per season, 2 seasons like that. 240 snippets of 3-4 minutes, which was a challenge because I was alone doing it for 22 minutes straight of every show because there's barely any dialogue.
Okay.
So we were talking about the character of music. Well, the music was very important because that was giving the style, the mood of each story. And so I had to score that all by myself. I used different player soloists for different parts that were so important I could program them, and if not I would play myself as a violinist because I do that a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was 800 minutes of music in a year and a half.
Wow.
It was my first major challenge, and I did it. I was really proud.
That's great.
Fun.
Good.
I also did main titles for shows that are running again still, with like 6th season. One is called Prière de ne pas envoyer de fleurs, which is Please Don't Send Flowers. It's like a roast they throw on a guest that is, famous guest, and they kind of fake his death in a funny way, and then they throw a roast with a lot of people from family or workers.
That sounds really interesting.
It is. It's very funny. So I had to write the main title for that, which was the inspiration was, what would you want to hear if you went to like heaven? Like what was the music? So it was fun because I listened to a lot of Danny Elfman, which I love his style of music, and a lot of the quirky scores that I could find, and kind of blended that into what instruments that I thought would represent, of course, the brass, the trombones, the trumpets, and the choir, and the string stuff, and do kind of a score for that beginning. Also did a consumer show, main title, and a lot of the backup tracks that they're playing behind, which was more of a little bit electronic style, because it's more consumer stuff.
Sure.
That was another thing, and integrating sounds from like computers, and, machines, like stuff. So that was fun too.
Good.
Yeah.
So like when you're composing, do you talk a lot, like depending on the project? Do you talk to like the showrunner, or like who exactly do you talk to determine the sound that you're going for?
Normally it's the director.
Okay.
Director and sometimes content director. Like sometimes there's 2 people.
Okay.
I've never really talked directly to the producer except for having general feedbacks. They were happy or not, but daily it was mainly the director and sometimes the additional content director that they would consult each other and give me direction. Sometimes they didn't agree, so that was interesting. Like, well, yeah, that was interesting. At one point there were 3 in the project for the hip gags, and that was kind of all right. Get one direction, but it worked out because I think it took about 2 weeks for this kind of trio thing to find their direction, and then for me to understand that direction, and then it was like rolling. So,
okay. Yeah. What's your favorite type of project to work on? Like, what have you had the most fun, or maybe what has even been the most challenging in a satisfying way?
I would say that this series, the hip gags, were the most challenging project that I've had so far. Just because style-wise, I had to do what I call the musical split. It was so wide in range of emotions and context and stories. I could go from having a scene at a bar that I needed to do some kind of rock or EDM or something that's more lounge. And then they would have scenarios. They're like, well, he's going to pretend that's going to be Superman. So can you do something that kind of resembles Superman with a full orchestra? And we don't have the budget for that, but you have 8 hours to do it. Okay. And then sometimes it would be like a banjo thing. I'm like, all right, okay, stretching the limits, so it was fun because some were more what I would say closer to what I'm used to.
Okay.
Because of my background as classical and having played in orchestra all my life, and kind of knowing that sound.
Okay.
And I've also worked production of electronic music, but when it fell into kind of other styles like Western or weird, or, that was like, all right, I have to go and listen for a few hours, and I'll be back after these messages.
Right.
So.
Well, that's kind of exciting. So you said you had a background in classical music and you played the violin. Have you played any other classical instruments?
Well, I do play a little bit of piano, but I call it it's like programming piano. Like I'm not a concert pianist, although I've had to do it on TV shows sometimes to fill in, and that was kind of stressful.
Yeah.
I do play viola if I need to. I also play tons of, I have 5 electric violins with various ranges, because I do a lot of pop, rock, improvising, jazz, so I have this whole area of things. I also do a lot of live little percussion instruments that I've gathered just to do them live. It's really fun.
Yeah. No, I always like to ask more about kind of how people came into music. Like, what made you think music's the thing for me, and also composing is what I want to do? Like, how did you come to that?
Well, funny things, when I started, the way I started, my mom took me to a concert of young violinists, and I went there and I was like, oh my god, this is so amazing. And I told her I loved it. It's just so sad that I'm not playing with them. So we just,
Nice.
That's how I started.
Okay.
And then I actually wanted to be a gymnast at that time.
Okay.
Which is funny. But that didn't work out. So I stayed in music, and I evolved into classical music. Went to New York for 4 years, studied there with private teachers, and started playing symphony orchestra when I was 11.
Okay, great.
It was like, wow.
Yeah.
The New York Youth Symphony, and it was David Lyle Miller, who's actually from Los Angeles, who's now directing the Albany Symphony. He was my first ever conductor.
Nice.
So that evolved into going to McGill later on, because my parents went back to Montreal, and so I did my bachelor's in classical music, performing, violin, and then honestly I just went sideways. I was like, oh, what is music bringing to the world? Like, I was going out with a medical doctor. He was saving lives every day, and I was just playing notes and ranting on the fact that I couldn't play a scale right for some reason. I was like, this is bullshit. I need to, be useful. So I actually did med school. Like, I did the pre-med and got into the med school, and then said, all right, this is like a why. So I went to Italy and kind of reconnected with music there. And I flushed the doctor, flushed the medicine. But I discovered through that I needed something more than what I was getting out of my orchestral background in classical music. I just needed to express myself more, which was, I think, the basis of composing. It was like, I need to do something out of the box. So I started playing in a trio, jazz trio, improvising and fusion stuff, and then world music. I played with a Moroccan hajouj player. It was so much fun. Learning how to play music that you can't even notate, because I was trying to notate this thing, and every time you would play differently. So I was like, all right, scrap that. It's like, this is not working. Met incredible people like Jean-Luc Ponty, who became kind of a mentor for a while, and that evolved into taking classes in New York again with improvising and stuff. So anyway, I ended up doing a lot of pop tour and a lot of TV shows because of that background that I was building. I'm still concertmaster of The Voice in Montreal now.
Nice.
Yeah, so a lot of TV shows I'm actually still the concertmaster on, playing sessions for TV and movies. And while I was on tour, I was like, I love playing it, but it must be so much fun to create it. So I started doing online courses, because there was so much traveling time. So I did those online courses with Berkeley, and ended up doing the whole complete master's certificate in film and TV.
Nice.
And I had to, the good thing is that the courses, I guess, were good, and I really was passionate about it, so I started landing the pitches for a few of those TV shows while I was doing the course, and then it just kind of snowballed into the other contracts. So,
Good.
That's how I got into composing about 8 years ago. More seriously.
Is there any project like TV or movies or other that you haven't done yet that you're really excited to try one day?
Well, what I would like to do is more of a longer arc,
Okay.
either a TV series, with evolving characters and emotions and script, because so far I've done a lot of smaller movies or, scenarios.
Okay.
So I would like to do either a movie or a dramatic series.
Okay.
TV. So yeah,
Okay.
those are the two things
That sounds
I
great.
would love to do.
Okay. Is there anyone you definitely want to work with, or would it just literally depend on the story and whether or not you connected with it?
Yeah, I mean, like I just had a meeting with the director, and here I just connected through Comic Con, and
Oh, great.
I think it's, I didn't know her at all. She was introduced to me by a friend, a mutual friend, and it's just like we felt a kindred spirit right there, and it just feels like, wow, I want to contribute. I want to, know
Yeah.
more about what you do. So
Yeah.
for me, it's yes, there are names like I would love to work with somebody like James Cameron. I mean,
Sure.
I would.
I mean,
'cause
hello.
hello. But I think there's so many people that have something to say that if it touches me and I feel I can contribute, then that's
Okay.
the most important thing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.